Hello and welcome everyone to another session of business economics. Sorry for the delay, there were some glitches with the system here. So today we'll be discussing about different types of economic systems, which is very important. A lot of questions are asked and from a lot of important characteristics between capitalist, socialist and the mixed economy. But before we go into that, an important announcement to be made for the students. Uh, Right. With regard to the subscription plan of Unacademy, the special classes on YouTube or on Unacademy platform can be watched for free for every students, whether they are paid subscribers or an unpaid subscribers. They can watch all these sessions, and these sessions will be available both on YouTube platform and Unacademy platform. As far as subscriptions are concerned, there are a lot of benefits if you take the subscription. The recorded classes will be available to you till that day so your subscription expires. You can watch those recorded videos as many times as possible, and of course there'll be face-to-face interaction in the live classes. Every fourth session will be a solving session, whether it's a plus subscription or an iconic subscription. So as far as CA Foundation subscription goes, for 24 months if you take it, you have to pay 1000 rupees per month. For 12 months you have to pay 1500 rupees per month, and for 6 months you got to pay 2000 rupees per month. All right, and you can get additional 10% off if you use the code Yeshas Live. So don't forget to use the code Yeshas Live. All right, and iconic subscription, when a lot of other benefits are available, like one-to-one interaction with the faculty, one-to-one doubt solving sessions. There'll be structured mock test papers given. After completion of 40% of the subject, there'll be mock test. Then after completion of 80% of the syllabus, there'll be again mock test given. And then when the syllabus is fully completed, then again 100%, full length mock test paper will be given. It will be evaluated. You will be given feedback by the experts and so on. So for iconic subscription, you want to take for 24 months, it will cost you 2417. For 12 months 2917, and for 6 months 4167. Again, in whichever subscription you choose according to your convenience, please do not forget to use the code Yeshas Live. All right, that's important. So now let's begin. Now you see, if you divide the economic world, there are only two different types of economic system. That is, on one end of the continuum you have capitalist system. We call it capitalist economy, and on the other end of the continuum you have socialist economy. Now in between the socialist and the capitalist, mixed economy is not a unique or different type of an economy. It has characteristics of both capitalist economy and socialist economy. We call it as mixed economic model or mixed economy. So a lot of questions on the characteristics of capitalist and mixed or socialist economy are asked from you in the examination. Now if you try to cram this characteristic, there will be a problem, you might forget it. So understand from a very logical perspective that why is it so if it happens in any of the economy. So let's begin first with capitalist economy. Now what is capital? First of all, capital plays a very important role in capitalist economy. Capital is the produced means of production, and whoever owns capital in a capitalist economy are the ones who are in control or in charge of the economy. So when I have to say capitalist economy, we say it's a free market economy. Now what do you mean by free market economy? One of the most important characteristics of a capitalist economy is consumer and producer sovereignty. It means their freedom. So consumer can demand whatever they want, and once the demand is created, producers can produce or meet those demand. There will be no restrictions imposed by the government upon either the consumers or the producers. It means the government will not dictate to the consumers that what you should consume or what you should not consume. Likewise, producers are free to meet that demand. It means if I'm a producer in a capitalist economy, I can produce whatever I want, wherever I want. I can sell at any price I want, right? To anybody I want. I am completely free from the control of the government. You see, if we compare this concept in a socialist economy, businesses are not free. In fact, private businesses do not exist there, right? And in a mixed economy, if we adopt some of the socialist economic principles, then government will have strict control over some of the businesses. Clear? Before 1991 economic reform, they had license Raj, Quota Raj, or permit Raj. License Raj, permit Raj, and Quota Raj. So government used to decide, who is going to do business. Government strictly control licensing for the businesses. Government also used to control the output of any particular business. It means government will have to put strict restrictions. This was the situation before 1991 economic reforms, that is the Rao Manmohan model. So free market economy, you also call it as a laissez-faire economy. This term, remember, laissez-faire economy. It means the economy is free from every type of external control by government or the authorities of the or the authorities of the government or any kind of bureaucracy. All right. So that is the most important feature. You see, in a capitalist economy, demand plays a very important role. Demand plays a very important role, because if there is no demand, the producers will not be willing to supply. Frequently a question is asked that what is the most important objective of any business? Alright, obviously the most important objective is profit. But the thing is, you have to understand, if a business is not preferred by the consumer, if the product made by the business is not preferred by the consumer, can you all hear me? Good morning everyone. If the product of a business is not preferred by a consumer, it means there is no consumer preference. Who will buy my product? So a company have to create a brand equity. The people should trust that particular brand and they will consume that brand. That's why Peter Drucker long time back had said that creating customer is important, but equally important is retaining customer. If a customer is retrained, it means he will return to you time and time again to buy the same product. Companies like Nestle have created customer preference for several products, like one of those most important and most favorite product in India, and not only in India, in many parts of the world, is Maggi. Alright, so you will not consume Maggi only once. Every time you have to purchase a noodle, significant proportion of Indian population, they will go buy a Maggi, isn't it? So consumer preference is very important. So if they have to choose between consumer preference and profit, you have to choose consumer preference, because profit is dependent on consumer preference. Clear? So it means if the demand is there, then the supply is there. And if the demand is more, it means people want, there is a competition going on among the consumers to rush for that particular commodity. The price will automatically increase. It means the sellers will increase the price. They will think that, okay, people are willing to pay so much of price, why not charge more money? And if the demand is decreasing, then the supply will also decrease and they will have to sell you at a lower price. So demand is the most important factor in this particular type of market. So we say that price of goods and services is determined by the market forces of demand and supply. If the demand is more than supply, then the market price will increase. If the supply is more than demand, then the market price will decrease. Next, as I've told you, the most important objective, if I'm doing any business, the most important objective is to earn profit. Obviously, I cannot earn that without creating consumer preference. But my target is profit. I'll do whatever it takes. I will try to create consumer preference in order to chase the profit. Wealth maximization is never possible if you are not generating consistent profit. And consistent profit can be generated only through consumer preference. That's why these companies pay so much of money, millions and millions of dollars to celebrities to come on television, because celebrities have, mass following. Millions of people follow any particular celebrity. So when celebrity comes up on the television and says that I use this product, the consumers are motivated, a positive preference is created in the minds of the consumer, and the goods can be sold. So the millions of dollars or millions of crores of rupees which are paid to the celebrity is recovered from increase in the sales or revenue of that particular goods and services. So it's you can say a rewarding expenditure for the companies, right? Clear. So here profit is the primary motive. Profit is the primary motive of every business. Profit is the primary motive of every business. Without profit, no businesses can sustain. It will lead to their capital erosion. Next, you see, in a capitalist economy, so you have to logically relate chain by chain, small, and you will be able to understand, if you have understood the characteristic, you don't have to learn or, cram by heart these characteristics, because we all know what is the situation in any capitalist economy. All right. Fourth one, in a capitalist economy, the government is not interested in ownership of any business. As simple as that. Government says that as long as somebody is not violating any law. Now the thing is, if there is freedom to do business in a capitalist economy, that doesn't mean that you have the freedom to violate the law. So you can produce whatever you want, but you cannot start selling drugs. All right. Freedom doesn't mean that you will not care for the society and you will not care for the health and the hazard that certain commodities can cause. All right. So you can produce whatever you want as long as it is not creating any danger to the life of individuals consuming it. It doesn't damage the social fabric of the society. Then no problem. The government is not going to interfere. That's the meaning. But the government doesn't do anything. It means government doesn't own any business. Government doesn't own any resources to any business for running any business. Long time back, Adam Smith had said that it's not the business of the government to be in business. So what does government do? The core activities of governance is done by the government to protect the country from external aggression, to ensure that constitution is followed, there is law and order in the economy, people are paying taxes honestly, so on and so forth. But government is not going to produce anything. Everything will be produced by the private sector. All right. So there is no government ownership. So we say here is that there is private ownership of sources of production. It means what? Government do not own any business. Government do not own any business. Moreover, we say that there is absolute consumer sovereignty. One of the biggest advantage of a capitalist economy, of a free market economy, is that consumers are given the freedom to make a choice. And once the consumers are given freedom to make a choice, the sellers are free to meet the demand of the consumers. Right? There will be no interference as long as the customer is, as long as businesses are paying the taxes, as long as business is not violating any law, the government is not going to restrict either the freedom of the people, that is consumers, or the producers. There'll be no licensing, no permission, no nothing. You can do whatever you want, whatever is allowed by the constitution of the country. Clear. So that is the biggest advantage. There is consumer sovereignty. That means consumer freedom. Alright, consumer freedom to make a choice. Government is not going to dictate anything to you, either to the consumers or to the businesses You'll find that businesses which have started and run in any capitalist economy, those businesses have become today, you can say, significantly giant ones. You will not find an example, you will never find, no matter what. In fact, there is no exception to it. Right, everywhere where there is some exception, but there is no exception to it. You will never find any business in a socialist economy which is run by the government and the company becomes so big that it will it will cloud the biggest firms in the world. It is not a possibility. So all the big brands that we use in our life today, whether it's Apple, Samsung, Maruti, Honda, right, or AT&T, all these companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Maruti is developed here, but we are mixed economy as well. So all these businesses have become global leaders. Alright, maybe Maruti I've taken a wrong example because it's a part of the mixed economy, but you'll see the most of the Fortune 500 companies, they belong to US or Europe. None of these company, and some part they belong to China and Korea as well, but you'll never find any particular economy which is a socialist economy like North Korea or somewhat socialist like Cuba. There any business which has become as big as Pepsi, Coca-Cola or Reebok or Nike or Gap or Apple or Samsung. Why? Because government cannot run businesses efficiently, because government's rationality is not towards running a profitable business, but government, if it's owning any business, the important responsibility or important objective is social welfare. So if it comes to sacrificing profit for the cause of social welfare, the government will not hesitate in doing so. For example, you see India, we have a mixed economy, but when public sector undertaking the concept was introduced during the Nehruvian age, Jawaharlal Nehru, from second 5-year plan. First 5 year we largely focus on agrarian economy. The most important objective of these public sector undertaking, it means the businesses owned by the government, is social development and not profit. Alright, social development and not profit. So when it comes down to sacrificing profit for the welfare of the nation, a business will do it. But that is not the case with a private business, because they are developed on the lines of generating profit as their primary motive. Yes, they can be forced at times by the government in a mixed economy to spend some proportion of their profit as corporate social responsibility. Otherwise, in many of the economies, if it's a capitalist economy, there is no such restriction comes upon any business wherein the government dictates that no, this percentage of your net profit you have to spend for corporate social responsibility. Ethical business do it, unethical business they don't do it. Clear? All right. So here you see, social responsibility is only the objective of the is the responsibility of is nobody's responsibility. It means neither business or nor government. Now why government in a capitalist economy doesn't do it? Because government doesn't have the resources. Now you can say, sir, then US you have been given an example of a capitalist economy. In US we have some programs like Obamacare. Alright, in US we have some social security schemes wherein unemployment allowances are given. These are a part of the social welfare. So if US is a capitalist economy, then how come these features are available in US? Because these are the features of socialist economy. The answer is, dear, to your question is that nowhere in the world you will find a perfectly socialist economy and a perfectly capitalist economy. Alright, perfectly capitalist, perfect anything is not possible, not a possibility. So if suppose there are 100 properties of a capitalist economy, or one or two properties are not met, then we will not consider that economy to be a socialist or a mixed economy. Alright, they are still considered as a capitalist economy. So write down now. So in this particular point, we'll say that social welfare is neither the responsibility of government nor the private sector. So if you cannot afford a house, you live on the street. You cannot afford education, you will remain illiterate. If you cannot afford food, you will die due to a starvation. Alright, but the government or the private sector will not come to your rescue, because the government will simply said that I left the economy free to be to the advantage of the people. If some people have become rich and you have remained poor, then I am not responsible for that. Clear? Seventh one. As I've told you, profit is the primary motive and there is freedom to do business. Profitability of every business will be very, very huge, and these business will become giant, big successes. All right. So write down next one. Business and economic growth will be very high due to freedom of choice. Got a question here? Sir, what's the meaning of not getting unbridled freedom? Freedom you're saying. It means the freedom doesn't come with any kind of a rider. It means when you're talking about freedom, there is absolute freedom available to businesses. That may be the case in a perfectly capitalist economy, but not, in general parlance, you will find this unbridled freedom is available. But yes, if you're talking about perfectly socialist capitalist economy, then unbridled freedom will be available. 8 point. 8 point. Concept of private property. You see, the concept of private property was born in a capitalist economy only, because the government thought that unless people have people have right to property, how can they use this property to their advantage and to the society's advantage? So if it's a perfectly so capitalist society, then right to property is most of the cases is absolute. It means the government cannot infringe upon your property right. If you have, when I say property, if suppose if I have a piece of land and I can do whatever with that piece of land. I can make a house for myself, I can set up a factory, I can set up a business center, I can set up an office, I can do agricultural activities. It means if the property is mine and it is mine, me who will decide how I'm going to use that property. So the assets of the businesses belong to the business only. The government will not stake claim on those assets. The government will not impose restriction on the usage of that asset. It is absolute. Even one individual or a private entity cannot infringe upon the right of others. The property right is very, very strong in a capitalist economy. So write down, the right to property is absolute. Absolute. This is how the constitution of those countries are made. Right. Next we say that capitalist economy are unplanned economy. Unplanned economy, what does it mean? Haphazard. It means business do not have a goal and objective. No. The economy is unplanned. It means there is no central authority. No central authority or government organization who is going to decide the plan, growth plan for the economy. For example, India is a mixed economy and India has characteristic of both socialist and capitalist. From the socialists we have used the concept of a planning commission, wherein since government is also owning some businesses, government is a participant in the market just like the private sector. So government's responsibility is to ensure that these resources are properly utilized. So government can steer the direction of the economy. Government can determines what should be the rate of GDP growth, what must be done to maintain a sustainable rate of growth. Government incurs a lot of expenditure to change the direction of the economy. When the economy is going into recession, the government will quickly decrease taxes on the people so that people's disposable income will increase, consumption will increase, and the wheels of the economy will start to run. Because once consumption increases, then the producers will come to meet the demand of the consumers. Alright, and government will also incur a lot of expenditure, whether it's capital expenditure or other forms of expenditure. So increase in government expenditure will also give a boost to the economy. Clear? But in case of capitalist economy, government doesn't have such power because government is not the ownership of any resources. So we say it's an unplanned economy wherein the government doesn't plan what either the government doesn't make either long term or short term plan. Either long term or short term plan, none of these are made by the government. The market will decide where the economy will be. All right, if the demand decreases in the economy, overall demand, the economy will go into a recessionary cycle. And if the demand is increasing, the producers will try to meet that demand, they will end up generating more employment, and the economy will go into an expansionary phase. So the cycle of growth and contraction will continue to happen automatically due to the market forces of demand and supply without any external intervention by the government. So that's why we call these economies as unplanned economies. All right, so write down, it's an unplanned economy. Unplanned economy. That is, there are no central planning authority to determine short or long term plan. All right, but the biggest problem, one of the biggest problem of a capitalist economy, I've told you the biggest advantage is consumer sovereignty, to which there will be a phenomenal growth for these economies. But the biggest problem for capitalist economy is income inequality. Income inequality. It means there will be a widening gap between the rich and the poor. Why so? That's why you see in a mixed economy, government adopts social welfare measures so to help the downtrodden who cannot help themselves. If the government doesn't help them, then they will be, they generation after generation will stay in a lingering poverty. A poor man will breed poverty and pass on his poverty from generation to generation, and the rich man will pass on his legacy of wealth from generation to generation. So a rich man's sons and daughters will start their life from richness, but a poor man's sons and daughters will start their life from hunger, poverty and starvation. And there is no intervention done by the government in a capitalist economy. Simply the government says that I gave you the economy to take advantage of. Some have become rich, you have remained poor. How am I responsible? You are responsible. Why that person or that company has become rich? Why did you start any business and it did not work out? Am I responsible for that? The answer is no. So if I'm not responsible for anything, why should I help you? So poor will remain in lingering poverty. There will be widening gap. Then many students say, sir, India is a mixed economy. They get confused. In US, you are saying that income inequality will be higher. Yes. Then in a mixed economy, when government is helping somewhat, not everybody, those who are living below the poverty line to social welfare schemes. For example, in India, we have a Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, midday meal scheme, national literacy mission, right to education to promote education among the poor, economically weaker sections of society. We have national rural health mission, national urban health mission to provide medical care to the people free of cost. We have Annapurna Yojana and so many other public distribution schemes where BPL card holders, they can get highly subsidized foods like rice, pulses, sugar, wheat and so on. Alright. So government is helping. So in India, there should be less income inequality compared to US, obviously. So why isn't it there? The answer is it's there. In India, there is less income inequality compared to US. What we are thinking is you are measuring in absolute value. If you take the percentage of people out of the total population and the gap you calculate on Gini index, whether the rich and the poor people, the gap is significantly higher in US compared to in India. If you calculate in percentage terms. Alright. So 10. There will be significant gap in household income. It means income inequality will be very prominent. Alright. If you remember these things, then all the questions you will get from these points in any of the societies, whether it's a socialist or a capitalist or a mixed. Now let's take a look at socialist economy. Why do such kind of economies exist? First of all, socialist economy. You see, if you read the Constitution of India, the word socialism is mentioned there. The word socialism is mentioned there. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, republic, democratic nation. Right? So, it is the preamble to the Constitution, the preface to the Constitution, which talks about the heart and soul of Constitution. Whichever word is mentioned in the preamble to the Constitution, like you open a book, you see the first page is the introduction to the book. So the preamble is the introduction of the Constitution, and this preamble is the aspirations of the people. It contains the aspiration, it is the basic structure of the Constitution. It gives you an insight into what is there in that particular beautiful book, that is the Constitution of India. Alright. So socialism word has been used. But what is the meaning of socialism? What is the meaning of socialism? See, meaning of socialism, it simply is said that in the eyes of the law, everybody is equal. Alright. Whether it's the prime minister or the president or a normal man on a street, how rich you are, how poor you are, at what position you are, what is your authority, that is not going to determine your worth as per the constitution. As per the constitution, you are one individual and one individual, and when compared to another individual in that book, according to that book, that is the constitution, you both are equal. It means you are equal to Mukesh Ambani. I am equal to anybody living on the street who doesn't have a house. And he, a person who is living on the street, he can also say that in the eyes of the constitution, I am equal to the Prime Minister of India or the President of India or anybody who is the richest of the rich in India. Because every one of us has got one vote. Nobody has got two votes, isn't it? Do you think have you heard anywhere that if a person is influential, he's got two votes, he's got three votes? Have you heard this? It doesn't happen. Because in the eyes of the constitution, the value of every one of us is the same. We all are equal. All right. So in a socialist economy, socialism means equitable distribution of national wealth. What does it mean? If I use the word socialism, it means equitable distribution of national wealth. What is national wealth? You see, in any country, a lot of resources are there, because every resources, whether it's for the private sector or by the public sector, is obtained from land. You want to grow agriculture, food crop, horticulture crop, cash crop. You want to do mining, mineral extraction. If you rear animal, they will have to graze on the land. You have to construct building, offices, factories on the land. Everything is obtained from land, correct? So it means every country has got different types of resources and different quantities of different types of resources. Now it is the responsibility of the government that when these resources are exploited, the benefit of such exploitation doesn't have a negative word here. Exploitation means you're using the resources here. Exploitation does have a negative connotation as well, but when in general parlance, if I use exploitation of resources, all right, British Petroleum has found a new gas reserve, so there will be more exploitation of uh, natural gas or crude, leading to increased productivity. All right, here the exploitation means using it, extracting it. So it is the responsibility of the government that when these resources are exploited, then the benefits of these resources are equally distributed among the society. Nobody will get more than the other. That is the meaning of socialism. But tell me one thing, is it possible that an individual, a private individual owning a business, will he try to distribute his profit among everybody in the society in the same manner? If suppose there are 100 people in the society and I have earned 1000 rupees, do you think I will keep only 10 rupees for myself and distribute 990 rupees to everybody else? Do you think a businessman will do it? The answer is no. For a businessman, his interest is over anybody's interest. But for the government, everybody's interest is the same. So government must ensure that when these resources are exploited, everybody benefits in the society in the same manner. So let's figure out what are the characteristics of a socialist economy. What are the characteristics of a socialist economy? First, in capitalist economy, it was a free market or a laissez-faire economy. Here will be strictly controlled and regulated economy. It means there is a very strong control over the economy by the government. Very, very strong control. Right. So it is a very strongly controlled and regulated economy, right? That is the government controls every aspect of the economy. Right. Here, in a capitalist economy, demand was the motivating factor. Demand increasing, demand more than supply, the price will increase. Supply more than demand, the price will decrease. As simple as that. But here, the concept of freedom do not exist. So the free market forces do not exist. It means you cannot decide whatever you want to buy. Many of the things which is thought by the government to be evil for society, they may or may not be. Alright. But the government thinks that is evil for the society will be prohibited from production. The government, you may demand mobile phone, and everybody wants mobile phone in the economy, say for example, but the government thinks right now this is not the time to produce mobile phone, we have to give priority to something else. So government will not produce any mobile phone. Then it says, sir, private sector do not exist here. Everything is owned and operated by the government. There is no concept of private enterprises. Government only doesn't govern the country, but government regulates, controls every business. Then you can say, sir, if government owns every business, why do you regulate or control? Because you see, government is owning a many business, but the prime minister of the country or the dictator who is there in the economy, he is not going to run any business. It means there will be bureaucratic force, officials. It means the government official will be running the economy. So the highest echelon in the you can say government, where you talk about the cabinet or the council of minister, they will have strong control over the lower bureaucracy. So if you are a government servant and you are running a business organization owned by the government, you have to work as a robot. You are not to take any free decision. Every decision will be notified to you through government circular, do this, do that. It means you are simply a statue working there to ensure that whatever government's top order from whatever the order comes from the top, it's implemented. You are not going to decide at what price any particular commodity is sold. You are simply the spectator of the government. So government is controlling everything. Alright. So it means the concept of demand will not work out. You want a pen, government will say no pen, this is not that way, start writing pencil, start using pencil. You want to wear designer jeans, government will say, why designer jeans? Why jeans at all? Wear lungi. Government can say that. Who knows? Alright. Do you have a choice? No. You have a choice not to do something. You don't have a choice to do something. It means you can say that what government is producing, I don't like it, so I'll not buy it. But what government doesn't like, you cannot buy. Alright, understood? I can deny the services offered to me by the government, but it will never be a possibility for me to demand something that is not available in the economy, because government will also restrict the import into the country. So here there will be the market forces of demand and supply will never work due to government control. So for a businessman, profit is the primary motive, but why the government is controlling? I've told you socialism, word kya hai? Socialist. From socialism, it means for equitable distribution. Why equitable distribution? Because nobody is rich or poor in the big or small in the eyes of the law. So do you think private profit is the primary motive? No, social welfare is the primary motive. Alright, social welfare is the primary motive. of the government. Social welfare is the primary motive of the government. Clear? There will be no private sector prevailing. So everything is a government ownership. Private businesses forget about being run or controlled. There are no existence of private business. Government has the ownership of everything. So we say that there is public. Here public we means government, because government is owning for the benefit of the public. At least the government thinks that. So there is government or public ownership over sources of production. That means that is private investment or private businesses are forbidden. Private investment or private businesses are forbidden. They are not allowed. Do you think businesses owned by the government, which is run on the lines of helping the people, not earning profit as the primary motive, will they ever be able to grow at the rate compared to a business growing in a capitalist or a socialist economy? The answer is no. Because the government may produce this pen at 10 rupees, government may give it to you for free. Because intention is not profit. Alright? Intention is not profit. So, the businesses will earn, maybe if it earns very small amount of profit, but most of the time businesses will incur losses. So, the growth of socialist economy will be very slow, extremely slow, and on many occasions you will have a negative growth as well. Alright? So, socialist economy grows. There is a reason for every of this point. If you understand the reason, you don't have to learn the points. Economics you cannot learn, you have to understand. It's a part of our life. It's all around us. So socialist economy grows at a very slow rate. At times there are also negative growth. And what is the reason for this negative growth? Because freedom of choices are not given to the people. If there is no consumer sovereignty, you can demand whatever you want. The government is not going to produce that thing. How will you? Because the supplier is the government, and government will not produce. You can demand heaven, the government will not even give you hell. Alright. You will request your government, heaven hell to de do. Alright. So government will say, no, whatever I gave, you take it. What you don't like it, shut up and stay in your house. If you criticize the government, I'll put you in a jail, put your family in a jail, put your friends in a jail, put everybody who has met in the last 1 month in a jail. It has happened in North Korea. It has happened in North Korea. It is happening in North Korea. If you criticize the government, you'll see never anybody criticizes the government, in not even one individual you will find in North Korea who can dare to say that this government is inefficient. You will disappear into the night, not to be seen ever again. That will be the last sunset of your life. If you ever say publicly that this government is just, you're not abusing the government. You go in a public place and you say, what King Jong-un, Dang, whatever his name is, he is not efficient. You say, you're gone. Your family is gone. Finish. Tata, bye bye. Gone. So you cannot do that. When you cannot criticize the government, when you cannot demand whatever you need, do you think, but the government said, see, you don't have freedom of expression, but you don't have to go to bed hungry. Now tell me, will any one of you want that kind of a life? It means you are living in a prison. Only the thing is, the prison is not small, it's a country. You are not allowed to have a mobile phone, you are not allowed to have a haircut of your choice. There are no movie released in North Korea from any of the Western world. If you are found to be watching any movies on a smuggled DVD, you will be imprisoned and executed. Life or death sentence will be given to you. It has happened in the past. Only some South Korean movies with lot of clippings censored कर दिया. 3 hour का movie को censor करके 45 minutes का बना दिया. Can you imagine? The scene is jumping from one place to another and the movie is over in 45 minutes. You don't have an internet connection. In every school from nursery to colleges, 1 hour every day you have to recite poetry about the leader, father of the nation, they call him. There is 24/7 propaganda is going. Television में क्या एक channel आता, 2 channel, there is no dish, no nothing. And there is propaganda of the government going on all the time that they'll show all the bad things in the world and all the good things in North Korea. Alright, there may be some good things happening everywhere, and so people are brainwashed every day into believing this is correct. Right? So basically what you are doing is you are completely blocking the information going into the country. Communication is controlled by you. Television is controlled by you. Movies are controlled by you. There is no Facebook, no WhatsApp, no chat, no SMSs. How, when people are not exposed to the external ideas, what is happening in the rest of the world, how the hell you will compare where you are living and what is happening there? Alright. So it means people are there, they think, okay, this is alright, this is what is happening in the rest of the world, it's better that he is controlling us. So, sir, you're not allowed to leave that country. You think for tourism purpose also, if you apply for a visa to another, the first you have to take permission from the government. The government will run inspection in your family. Everything, how much your family earns, who is outside the country, in which company your family's extended families are living. It means, imagine, can you imagine, if I am a North Korean and if I apply for a tourism visa to other country, I know that my family and my extended family will be very strongly investigated. Or kichi ka kuch to gadbad mil gaya. And if something is found for that person, then this person will go to jail anyways and my visa will be rejected. So, for fear of this, people do not apply for a visa. Will you apply for a visa if you're living in your country? You know what your parents are doing, you know what your brother is doing, what your extended chacha, mama, nana, what they are doing, you don't know. And when you apply, they all will have to go through screening process. And if little bit of something they find, it means one of them having a different haircut from what is notified for the government, they'll go to jail. Will you apply for a visa then? Tell me. The people who try to run from one side to the other side, South Korea accepts people if they run away from the north to the South Korea. There are snipers on the North Korean side. They will shoot you down. Many people have died, many people have been successful. Alright. Because South Korea is a beautiful country. It's awesome country. Just extreme hell and heaven difference, Baba. In South Korea, you have more freedom of expression than what you can find in United States of America or in Canada or in other countries. Can you imagine? You have more freedom. You can criticize the government, you can abuse the government, you can vote the government out of power. They are very, very decent people. North Koreans are also decent people. Government is only extreme. Alright? So, complete freedom is there. And that's why you see South Korea has grown such a big time. You see, a country is determined whether it's scientifically is achieving or something or not, according to United Nations, in terms of how many patents have been applied for, has been approved by the World Intellectual Property Rights Organization, WIPO. Country like India, wherein 5 or 6 South Korea can fit, maybe more. We apply for almost 100 patents every year. South Korea applies for 5,000 patents every year. Can you imagine? 5,000 patents. Companies like Hyundai, Haier, Samsung, LG, right? They all belong to Kia. They all belong to South Korea, right? So, anyways, so they will. So there is no consumer freedom. consumer sovereignty is not there. Seventh part, concept of private property do not exist. You don't own your own life, how can you own your property? Alright. So concept of property right do not exist here. You are living at the whims and fancies of the government. Your property is not yours. Anytime the government can violate your fundamental right to property. Why fundamental? There is no fundamental right existing in those countries which are run on socialist economy. That's why you will find very few on your hands you can count how many are, because eventually the socialist economy will collapse. Then you say, sir, Cuba is collapsing and they are moving towards mixed economic model. So why North Korea is not collapsing? Because there is a sanction imposed by US that any country who deals with North Korea, I'm not going to trade with you guys. Same way Britain, France, they all have imposed economic sanction. But how North Korea is able to survive? Because the big brother China, they always want to some have a naughty boy in their pocket. Alright. To maintain a balance in the world, they say. So it is because there is, I mean, you can say blind Chinese support to the North Korean government. If China today says that I'm not going to support North Korea, in one day I'm saying, one day their economy will collapse, the people will overpower, the armed forces will kill their leader in one day, right? So China is the motivating force here. So there is no consumer to freedom. Now it is a highly planned economy. Sometimes it's called also command economy. Planned economy bhi hai, command economy bhi hai. Why? Because government plans for everything in the society. Alright, there are planning institutions which decide both short run and long run economic policies. Now, government will run various social welfare measures. If food is not available, healthcare is not available, government will give this to you for free. Then you say North Korea में ऐसा होता है क्या? नहीं होता है. Because North Korea is not only socialist, it's a dictatorship. So it doesn't happen in North Korea. But generally it should happen in a perfectly socialist society. So government promotes various social welfare programs. That is, the government tries to create a welfare society. It means welfare is the primary motive. So what will happen here? The biggest disadvantage of a socialist economy is that there will be least income inequality. Alright, there will be, because government is helping those who cannot help themselves, least income inequality. Sometimes they will say no income inequality also. This is a perfect situation. They can use any of this term in the question. No income inequality. There will be no income inequality. But what is the disadvantage? You see, this corruption is found even in mixed economy. But there is also corruption because when government, remember one thing, Lord Acton, not Action, Lord Acton long time back had said, he was you can say a very important figure in public administration, that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right? Power corrupts, power will make you corrupt. Doesn't matter how honest or ethical you are, if you have absolute power, power will corrupt, and absolute power will corrupt you definitely. It means absolutely. It's a very prominent term in use in public administration studies when you study political science and public administration. So no matter how ethical the government is, Anybody who is having unbridled power, absolute power, will eventually become corrupt. Now in a mixed economy also corruption is there, very huge, nepotism is there, but that is a common feature. As I told you, mixed economy is mixed from both the socialists and capitalists. So this feature you will also find in a socialist economy. So there will be corruption in public offices. It means government organizations. Alright, clear. Some other day we'll take up with the mixed economy. We have already run out of time. Remember, for 2 more days you have special classes. So those you want as a revision, you can come down and take this 1 hour of revision. Tomorrow I don't think I have. I'll tell you the timing. I'll tell you exactly when it is. Just hold on, give me a moment. You have 25th and 26th 9 a.m. theory of demand. Both days you have theory of demand, so we'll be discussing about the concept related to demand. That is 25th and 26th. So today is 23rd. So from Monday and Tuesday you have 1 hour of session, special sessions on YouTube sessions, Unacademy. So please join me 9 to 10. All right, bye bye, take care, have a nice time.